and welcome back to the podcast Records. I'm Adam Aragon, and I am right behind you.
I'm Matlock Zumsteg, and I'm beside your grandmother.
Hi, I'm Stephen Thomas, and I'm in your face.
I'm Joe Kroll, and I'm inside your grandmother.
Whoa.
Oh,
Wow.
hey. Oh.
Well, we got to work on our
Heard about
ordering
guys
there,
like
folks.
you.
Is she holding the camera right now?
Kind of.
just like-
It takes a lot of duct tape and care.
This is what
I'll tell you when you're older. Much, much older.
the Joe Gilf VR porn POV is. You're looking at it right now. That's, yeah.
Today's topic of the show is fast and loose. Yeah, we have a lack of topics and agendas, so we've decided to devolve into poop humor. And,
Yeah.
First thing on our docket, Matlock.
Disclaimer, apparently they want to talk about Yuki today. So if you're not into that, maybe skip the episode. I don't know where it's going to go from here. All I know is when I brought up that I was late because I was still going to the bathroom, they decided to make that the topic of the entire episode. So you're welcome. Thank my colon for the topics of this episode, and let's get
Today's
to it,
episode
gentlemen.
is sponsored by shit.
That's colon content for you folks. The old CC. Get it started. All right.
We are going to talk about something else, though, right?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, good. So for those of you, that was a joke, I think. I don't know.
Oh, no. We're going to talk about poop quite a bit. But before we do that,
One of us is really into it, and we're not going to tell you who.
So I had to explain this earlier, so I'll bring it up again for the show here, is someone made a joke a while ago that Instagram is for pedophiles. And I had never heard that. I was just like, weird, okay.
That was the joke? They just said that, and that was like the setup
it was
and the
on the tail
punchline?
end of something else, but like it was just mentioned as if like we all know this type of thing. And I was just honestly confused. I was like, I had never noticed that, but okay, I guess, whatever. And then sure enough,
milk is for pedophiles. I know.
Well, sure enough, I go on Instagram like a week later, and I do notice like some like absurdly young girl like prancing around like all the other hot girl videos, and I'm like, she looks way too young. My theory is that, like, you know how your phone always hears you, so if you talk about, like, cat food, suddenly you're going to see ads for cat food? My theory is that my phone heard the joke and then, like, brought up that well.
Well, it's a little disturbing that an algorithm does that, too, right? Like, because
there's
the algorithms are designed
to bring up.
Yeah, it's designed to be like, okay, related content. And so the algorithm, but... Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to confirm that apparently Instagram is for pedophiles, and it's disturbing. Like a lot of them are these girls like who say that they're managed by their parents, like as models. And I don't know what's more disturbing, that there's like young people acting very inappropriately on Instagram, or that their parents are producing it.
Yeah. Well, back in the old days, in order to commodify your kid, you had to go to like some other person to get that done. But now you can just do it yourself.
You had to know a guy who used to live in a garage.
Yeah, or like, live in Van Nuys and know a guy who knows a person. Yeah, but it reminds me of like the YouTube family shows. Weren't we talking about that at the last podcast? Like
so you were talking about how families like playing video games with their kids, but being like high out of their mind, or
exactly,
taking advantage of their children.
Yeah, and you know, there's articles out there about some families like after the kids have grown up a little bit, and they're like, yeah, it was kind of rough actually because my parents were just constantly trying to document real emotion. And so like real emotions and real instances and stuff like that. And it got to the point where it was like hard to have a real emotion without having this instinct to like, oh, we need to document it. Oh, we need to set this up,
Well, also like important moments will happen. And then you know that like, damn it, we didn't film it. Okay, have him do his first steps again. Let's all act like we didn't do it. And then, honey, you're really sad and you're crying, but can you punch it up a little? Okay, we'll go again.
Punch it up a little. I was gonna say, isn't this like the continuation of like like everyone watches a concert now through their phone, right? Like anything important or interesting happening to you immediately becomes through the lens of your phone, and it's like, one of the, they say it's like just a product of the generation of people growing up with smartphones, is that they're kind of taught, I guess, like from older generation or from whatever, that everything is documentable, TikTokable,
That's why I wrote my hit song. That's why I wrote my hit song, "Point Your Phone at the Rainbow," because there was a rainbow one day. We were in the Oliver's supermarket parking lot, and there was a rainbow. We pull into the parking lot, and there's like 6 different fucking people all sitting next to their cars, going ah. And so it's like, point your phone at the rainbow. Everybody look, it's a rainbow. Point your phone at the rainbow.
Don't enjoy it with your eyes.
Yeah. Well, I think so. So a pop star just got in trouble for doing a concert where she stopped and like called out people like taking selfies and things like that. Like they were clear, they were not only like on their phone, but they were on their phone being like incredibly self-absorbed and like, look at me during a concert. And so like on the one hand, like a pop star or an artist stopping it and calling that out and going like, that's BS. To me, that makes 100% sense. To a lot of people, it pisses them off because they're like, "Oh, let people do whatever they want to do," and people are on their phones. They're always going to be on their phones. And I honestly don't know like which way to land in this argument.
Yeah, I mean, I think the people that are for it are kind of treating art like it's just a fucking trip to the fucking restaurant. Like, oh, my performance to you is just like a background for your fucking selfie. Go fuck yourself.
Not everyone has the Stephen Thomas epiphany.
I'm just pissed.
I have a story about phones at concerts. This was before selfies and smartphones, but my
tripping balls at a payphone.
It was a grainy video on a Palm Pilot in black and white.
Tripping balls at a payphone.
Way too many shrooms.
Sorry. Anyway, do tell.
So my parents were at a Lisa Loeb concert. I'm not sure if you remember Lisa Loeb. She had the hit song "Stay" in the 90s.
I've always heard Loeb, just Lisa Loeb. Is that?
It's got an E in it. I pronounce it Loeb. Anyway, so they were at a concert of hers, and they were excited because they knew I was a big fan of her, and they weren't necessarily, but they were there. So my mom called me on her flip phone from the audience, and I was delivering pizza at the time. And she told me, "Oh, Matlock, guess who we're watching on stage?" And then she goes, "Huh? Matlock. It's my son."
Who are you talking to?
And I'm like, "What, Mom? What's going on?" And I think I could hear Lisa Loeb over the concert, over the phone, going like, "Oh, who are you talking to? Oh, your son? Yeah, he's a big fan." And she's like, "Okay, well, I'll play this next song for Matlock." And then this
whole show's about you now. That's incredibly kind.
And so I'm like on the cell phone with a pizza in my hand, walking to someone's door, and I hand them the pizza, and I'm like, "Lisa Loeb is playing a song just for me."
And they're like, "You're not getting a better tip."
Yeah, right. Fuck you. But yeah, so there was an instance of an entertainer, and this was obviously, I don't know. I guess it depends on the entertainer and the situation, but maybe she recognized my mom was older, and then when she asked, like, I don't know, like, what would have happened if she'd been like, "Who are you on the phone with?" And she's like, "My tax consultant." Like, then it might have been a different reaction.
Well, I think that's fucking amazing because that's like early 2000s.
Yeah,
right.
It was late 90s, probably even.
So from what I remember from that era, being on your cell phone in public was fucking dude.
It's a power move.
You are an asshole. Like you answered your phone like in public, people would just be like,
"It's still kind of that way since everyone texts." But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I see people talking on the phone all the time now, and nobody seems to be. But I just remember that back in the day, that was like a huge faux pas. You like, oh, he just ruined the moment for all of us here at dinner. But
I did have an actual concert experience thing myself. Was I think it was the first or maybe second time I saw Cake in concert. One of my favorite bands of all time, Cake. Love it. I have so many of their songs memorized. Big fan of Cake. And I saw them live, and they did the same thing. They got very upset at the people on their phones, and they like stopped the show. God, it must have been 2 or 3 times. The lead singer went on like a rant about it. Like he was pissed. I think he kicked the phone out of some dude's hand at some point.
Damn.
I'm picturing him like, because he's racing and facing, and what the fuck are you doing there? Who do you think
he's
you are?
Going to the phone? It must be important. Could you hang up now?
Cake's awesome. Do you remember? Were you there when JW opened for them?
Oh yeah, he didn't open for them so much as sneak on and pretend he was opening.
Let me tell the story. So like I took the day off from a coffee shop I was working at to go and see Cake at the fairgrounds, the local fairgrounds they were performing at. And I was so excited. I really liked Cake. And Adam and I have this friend from way back when, and he's always been really egregious and outgoing. I don't know if egregious is the right word. He's like
I think it works.
He gets what he wants. He's like very street savvy, and he's very good at charming people and getting what he wants. And
big lovable
sweet talker.
Yeah. Regardless, I'm sitting in the audience, and then he comes out on stage, and he goes, "Hey everybody, my name's JW. I'm going to do some raps for you real quick." And he like does like 5 minutes of like freestyle rap, and then he's like, "And now everybody, here's Cake." And Cake comes out, and like Jay was like a local. He's not a celebrity. Like he doesn't have an act that like you pull him on stage or book him for.
Yeah,
so,
he
like,
wasn't booked in any sense.
Yeah, and so like a week later, I'm like, I see him, and I'm like, Jay, how the fuck did you open for Cake? And he was like, "Oh, it was easy. I walked past security, and they said, 'Oh, are you supposed to be back here?' And I said, 'Yeah.' And so they let me back there. And then I had some beers, and I sat down with Cake, and I was like, 'Hey, do you mind if I open for you guys?' And they were like, 'Yeah, sure.' And
we don't care. We're at a county fair. We do not care.
Right. Yeah, that could be it. It could be black security. It was like a perfect storm of like nobody giving a shit and him just walking in to where he wanted to be and then just saying, 'Hey, I want to be here,' and charming the pants off of Cake. So,
actually, Jay and I had done that at several concerts and venues and stuff. We actually we got into a couple shows a few times by
Liberace, Neil Diamond.
Yeah, only the greats. And we'd walk up to like where the roadies are all loading equipment, and we just like grab an extension cord or a speaker or something like that, and just like join the file of people going in. And like it worked like half a dozen times where you grab some piece of equipment and help people carry it. And
it's
no
great
one questions you if you're carrying an extension cord or a speaker or whatever.
If you have a lanyard, if you can just buy a lanyard at the dollar store and put like put your photo in a little,
it's just a photo. It doesn't have to be a card or anything too. Just like a photo of yourself.
It says all access under your photo.
All
picture of you with your mom.
It's a married couple that was the picture bought in the frame.
Yeah, the picture in the lanyard was of a married couple.
Just the one from the picture frame automatically, and you just snip it out. Sorry, Dan and Susan have given me permission to be here.
All access.
Yeah,
I did that.
I mean, sure, I got tased, but otherwise, they didn't care.
I liked it.
Yeah, I was like, do it again.
Please tase me, bro.
I want to know what it feels like, but I don't want to actually do it.
I want to do it to somebody
quite
else.
The demands you have there. I would like all the benefit of the knowledge and none of the pain or experience.
You could stick a fork in a light socket.
Yeah,
I've done that, so I could probably tell you what it's like to be tased. So.
It's got to be
similar.
I don't
mean as a child. I mean earlier today.
Doesn't Kyle MacLachlan do that in the remake of Twin Peaks?
Yeah,
he does it to come back to himself or whatever.
Yeah. Did you watch season 3 of Twin Peaks, Stephen?
Oh, it was amazing. I loved it.
Oh, thank God! I thought it was the only one.
Much more of a comedy than I thought it would. I laughed a whole lot more at that.
Oh my
season
God, I love.
than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Dig yourself out of the shit.
The shit.
I love that guy. Get yourself a golden shovel.
Yeah.
Matlock brought it up a couple times, but like my favorite part is when he's still like acting like Kyle MacLachlan is like kind of still being like a man child where he doesn't
Dougie. Yeah, Dougie.
Dougie. He
Yeah,
doesn't
with the green
understand things.
coat. Mm-hmm.
And then he has sex with the wife, and she's on top, and he's just laying there with like all four limbs splayed out akimbo, and like like a kid on a slide or something like that. And it's just hilarious and disturbing, and it just that image will be with me till I die. Like,
In the latest one, the stuff that stuck with me the most was more of the darker sets, the darker places.
It's
That
nighttime a lot of the time for
Yeah, and that motel area, the gas station and motel area, where the remember the old dark gas station and motel where the really
just a
dark,
creepy
fucked
spot.
up,
Yeah,
creepy men figures hang out and go in and out
the
of.
convenience store that all the demons live above. Yeah.
Right, right. The demon characters that like seem to be completely immersed in shadows, but then like they get their kicks by touching like raw electricity for a second or something. But like that's also like the way they move about. And I love the way he like introduces. He kind of just introduces like the seed of like little concepts, and then allows you to kind of run with it in your mind. You know,
Yeah,
like
you go ahead and you put the pieces together. Here's everything you need to play with for your brain to play with, but I'm not going to give you any answers specifically.
which is exactly what I want. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Because
right.
I'm
And
tired
some
of getting
people
shit
hate
spelled
that.
out for me all the
Right.
fucking time, and
Now,
just being, yeah.
on the opposite end, there will be like art films that end ambiguously, where you're like, oh, well, what happens to the characters, or there will be some vagary where it's like you figure it out. And I know, like my girlfriend.
finger gun.
My girlfriend doesn't like that. I appreciate it when it's done well, but like, and
When it's
David
done
Lynch
well.
I
Sometimes
feel
it's just
does
an
that
FU
well.
or it's
But
lazy.
sometimes it is infuriating. You're like, oh, so what was the point of this whole movie if you're not even going to explain what was going on? And you should know by the end of the movie what was happening, unless it's a David Lynch film. And even then, like, you feel closure with Twin Peaks, even though there's all these loose ends. Like, nothing feels like, oh man, I wish they'd gone more into this one thing. It's more like, oh, I'm glad I can go into that in my own head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joe, what do you feel about Twin Peaks? Since you haven't said a word, and I'm guessing you
Yeah,
haven't.
I
I feel
haven't
like
seen
you're
a
out
single
of your
episode
ear.
of it.
Okay.
Not a
What do you
clue.
think?
So,
What do you think?
I think I like the part
we're gonna
that
wait.
Steven was talking about dark people that transfer themselves through electricity.
Mhm.
That part I'm sold on.
Okay. So
It's
you
pretty
can watch it now?
Yeah, Matlock talked me into it, and honestly, like I wasn't that jazzed about it. I do like David Lynch actually, but I just didn't like the idea of like a soap opera of any type. And it is kind of soap opera esque. But like I think I read something a long time ago that said like good filmmaking is subversion, whether it's good cinematography or building a scene or revealing a scene or writing or directing or editing, is to subvert expectations.
So The Last
like,
Jedi is a great movie. That's why.
Well, subvert them in a way that makes sense and is interesting.
No. Anytime you subvert expectation,
It's good.
you are a genius.
That's more refuting, not subverting. I think.
Okay.
If you're just pissing on expectations, that's a different
subverting.
concept.
Bet you weren't expecting this. Yeah.
But yeah, I think like subversion done well. Like I think all of Edgar Wright, like his movies, like always have subversive elements. Like the scene opens and you see something that makes you think you have a handle on what's happening, and then like the camera pans and you clearly don't. Like
yeah.
Whoa, like I was wrong, and like you have that in almost every scene in like really good movies. Like where you're just constantly surprised. You're constantly like, oh, I didn't think that's how this was going to go.
That's a key for humor. A lot of comedians use that. I believe.
Oh yeah,
can't remember the name, but it's like Paris Perdokian or something. It's Emo Phillips uses it a lot. It's basically like laying down a garden path for the audience to follow with an expected outcome, and then like turning it on its head so that you realize that like the setup was not what you thought it was. So for example, Emo Phillips has a joke that I use an example. When I was a little boy, my parents would say, Emo, never go near the cellar door. But one day my parents were away, and I went up to the cellar door and I opened it, and I saw things I had never seen before. Beautiful things like trees and grass and and I love that because it's obviously you assume which side of the cellar door he's going to be on, but that's like good for humor too, is if you're leading people to one conclusion and then either turning it on its head or jumping to a conclusion they would not have expected.
I read a Reddit thread which is like, what's your best opening joke, right? Like what if someone says, tell me a joke, which one do you whip out?
And my parents said, Emo.
And it was that joke, and I'm going to tell it again, word for word. No, they said, a father is washing the car with his son, and then the son turns to him and says, you can use a sponge for this, right?
I got it. I just got it. I got it.
Yeah, I didn't hear the setup. I don't listen to Adam, so I don't know.
Did he make a joke? Don't. I'll just cut my audio out of the podcast.
Adam actually gave me advice one time. He said, trust me, you should apologize. He gave me advice one time. He said, well, if you can't think of anything funny to say, just say big floppy donkey dick. And I was like, that's good advice. Mm-hmm. And so I was in my first meeting after having gotten promoted to a new position, and a couple different bosses were in there, and then my coworkers were in there. Yeah. And it's a group that I'm pretty comfortable with. It's like, I'm not trying to impress anybody.
But go on.
So I was like, I'm pretty comfortable with, I've been working with everybody here for years. Like, it's all good. But I didn't
HR's not here.
Right. And like somebody said, like, hey Steven, somebody said you're into comedy, say something funny. And I'm like, whatever. I was like, actually, a buddy of mine told me once, if you can't think of anything funny to say, just say big floppy donkey dick.
Silence.
And dead creepy silence. Yeah, so by the way,
my face turned red and I was like, it probably wasn't very good advice, and he probably didn't need for me to say it right now.
So Steven, I feel like I have to correct you on the course you've been sent on in life. Because what I meant was, say that in your head, you asshole.
Never ever
out loud to a crowd apropos of nothing. Like say it in your mind to get the juices flowing. That was you misinterpreted me. Sorry.
So big
I don't understand nuance.
Juices flowing.
I don't get things.
Now say it in your head and then say what comes to mind. Gold.
It was right on the teleprompter. I
read what it says, damn it.
Big floppy donkey dick. Am I fired? I'm fired? Okay.
Am I done? Is it done? Okay.
I'll be on stage tonight if anybody wants to come see me.
It's been real.
Joe, what's a weird out there fringe show or movie that you watch that most people don't?
I got nothing, man. I watch everything everyone else does.
Everything I watch is mainstream.
Just Friends and Party of Five.
Yeah, Party of Five.
Oh. Melrose Place,
90210. Sorry, I'm from a certain era.
I'm the oldest man. I remember I've been watching 90210, but it was 9029.
I just started watching The Simpsons finally.
You're that guy?
Yeah, get this, they're yellow.
Thank you.
Joe, we haven't had enough from you today. I want to ask you to tell me weird things about birthing a baby that are untrue.
I don't know nothing about birthing no babies.
Number one, it's impossible to scare a baby out of a woman.
So are you trying to scare the baby or the woman?
Trying to scare the fetus itself to ejecting from the woman.
How do you accomplish that? Like really loud death metal music or right up to the stomach, or like?
And are you trying to accomplish it like in the hospital while they're in labor, or are you trying to accomplish it just like randomly on the street? Like,
well, first, you want to keep it in a hospital, but
yeah, but in any of the times he's tried it, it's never.
worked. It cures hiccups. Maybe a baby, huh?
Might cure a baby. Maybe the baby will go away.
Maybe
I had the worst case of baby, and now it's gone.
Boom.
You just invite
Ma'am, I'm
pregnant
sorry.
women. You
It's a
invite
prank.
pregnant women over to your house and like, hey, come in. Okay, we're gonna try this out. No, it didn't work. Didn't work.
Stand on your head.
Go ahead and go to a
just
doctor.
I'll tell you something that apparently is true about giving birth, but it always confused me a little bit. So apparently it's very common for women to like evacuate their bowels during birth. So a lot of them will poop.
You see it on
which is
TV
fine.
all the time.
I do not watch the same shows you watch, and you should stay off Instagram. But
Baby Mudslide, that's the show.
well, I'm just wondering, like, what does the process look like? Like in the middle of like a tense, horrendous situation with screaming and pain, suddenly like there's a turd. Like,
right?
Do you just catch it in a bucket? Do you like move her and fix it? Like, how do you deal with that?
Well, my suggestion to you, Adam, is have a baby with your wife, take a
Sure,
video
yeah.
camera, and film it and
let
find
the whole
out.
world know this is how it goes down.
Or just go to the pregnancy ward and ask if you can film it.
I think
just ask random people to film their birth.
I think it's
a lot today. Did she have a lot of food before this?
Corn fiber. Do you have any?
It's a matter of importance. Like, something's dropping from this woman. What do you want to catch? The turd or the baby?
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. So, like, does the shit go on the floor and you're going to step in it and
probably
slip
goes
or
on
something?
the tarp. They have tarps, right?
Yeah, I guess. Like, that's like, there's a child involved. Like, they're delicate, right? You don't want to like rub them in poop the second they're out. Like,
well, and plus, as long as they're not giving birth on their stomach, then that shouldn't be an issue either. Because if they're both coming out at the same time.
Oh yeah, huh? That's a thing. That's something I didn't need to think about. Wow.
With someone giving birth in reverse,
baby with a long,
in the classically agreed "don't do this" position.
I mean, like if you're doing
Why
it
not?
like
I don't know if anybody's ever tried. Let's try it. Let's see what happens.
I'm gonna do a handstand. And I want you to help me just deal with what comes.
Well, I took myself out of the last 5 minutes of the podcast in interest of saving my marriage. So,
Did you
talk
say
all you want about the female reproductive system? I know nothing.
Tell us all about your marriage and why you need to save it.
I will tell you what happens when you have a baby and the baby's very first poop outside of the womb is fascinating.
Back to poop, thank God.
You can play with it for hours.
It looks like black volcanic glass. I swear.
It's
like the very first time the baby pooped, the nurse was like, "Wow, it's a lot." And I was like, "I want to see."
It's my boy.
And I looked, and I was like, "Whoa!" I like freaked out because it was like black. Like I've never seen poop so black. It looked like an energy source or something. And you could have like
you could power a city off this.
I swear, crystal. Almost yes, it almost had like a rainbowy sheen to the blackness or whatever.
It pulled in the light around it.
I remember like I instantly went into like figure it out mode and like I looked at the nurse and was like, is this because he's been inside the tummy the whole time and it's just totally dark and there's no light and so maybe that's why? And she's like, sir,
calm down.
First off, tummy. Let's stop at tummy.
This color black, it's so dark. Can I patent it? Is it something that can be patented? Like no light escapes.
I'm going to paint the doghouse with this.
It was fascinating. I've never seen a poop like that before.
Ever since the dog has just been slamming into the wall, by the way.
I kind of want to hang this on this wall.
Once you take away their depth perception, who's the lesser animal now?
It's our first work of art as a human, is our first poop.
That's right.
and your son came out and just Van Gogh'd all over me.
Hopefully that's not where he peaks.
What if that's just your kid? Like every other kid is normal, and yours just had like a dark crystal moment there.
That's I haven't even like corroborated the story, so yeah, you might be right.
You should have leaned over to that nurse and been like, "Jesus Christ, the gypsy was right." Just look dead.
I told you the curse is real.
So it's true.
I told you the gypsy didn't lie.
Looks like he's going to have to live up to the prophecy after all, eh? What the?
You know what I'm saying, right?
You know what I'm saying, right? Right?
Where you
Well, I
going?
guess we can expect
Pardon me,
him to
nurse.
sprout wings.
Yes. The way
no.
is open. Hello.
This inspires my next scene, which is a little bit of a scenes from a hat, so everyone can just jump in and give their own example of what you don't want to hear from a doctor during birth.
Stop! Put it back!
Undo! Undo!
Oh, she's shitting. She's shitting. What do I do with the boob? What do I do?
Go into the light.
The poop's in my hair.
Oh, dear God. We're going to need a veterinarian.
Oh, it's a slippery one. This guy's slippery. We got to run.
What do you mean an epidural? Just hit her with the needle.
Is this a bad time to hit on you? Is that bad?
Are you single?
Look, we all know you put out.
Hey, come on. What are you going to do after this?
What are you doing after?
Do you want to grab a
Later
cup of coffee
today.
after this? Later?
Do you want to save the poop? Did you want to keep the poop?
Yeah.
That's some people are fascinated.
We have another dark vortex poop here. Can we bring in the radioactive tongs?
It's like a baby black hole.
So, did you want this? Did you want this?
You keeping it?
If not, we have like a disposal thing right here. So
Yeah,
we're very liberal.
Look, I'm really hungover. Could you keep it down, please?
Oh God, it's all about you. Some of us have
Stop
headaches.
breathing like that. Could you just stop? That's annoying.
So what's his name? What's his name? Did you figure out a name? What's the name? What's the fucking name? Tell us the name. Sorry, that's actually something they really do. They come into the room like every hour.
And they scream at
Did you come up with a name yet? And you're like, no. They're like, it's pretty important. You got to get that done soon. Thanks. Bye.
Wait,
Because they're like paperwork.
who's in the waiting room? I guess if you don't know the gender of your baby yet, I guess, right? Then
No,
but even
it's
then,
a thing. They want to get a name on the baby because the hospital doesn't want to sit there and just keep referring to it as
No. But my point is like, who doesn't have a name picked out by the time you're at the giving birth phase?
Oh, I bet you
I
there's
know.
tons
Some
of people.
I guess, just wait because I have heard stories like that of people like they name the kid at the hospital, and it's like
I've heard of that.
You
I
knew
just thought
this
there
was
was like
coming.
yeah.
Oh, shit, I knew I forgot something.
Yeah.
Oh, what do we call it?
Pick up cereal name. What's his name?
I got all tied up with all the poop stuff.
That's a really good point because we were calling my son by his name like 4 months before he was born.
Well, the one example I can think of is if you purposefully didn't want to know the gender yet, and you were waiting until it was born to know the gender, because some people do
There
that.
you
They
go.
don't want to know. But I guarantee you that couple has discussed what the boy or girl name would be.
Still,
Did you want to keep the umbilical cord connected, or do you want?
Yeah.
Because I'm not comfortable
Apparently,
cutting.
it's good for them. It helps with anemia.
I'm
now
not good.
that's a question. Does anybody know? Does it fall off naturally if nobody were to disconnect it, or is it like that that character on Mad TV where you can just stay connected to your mom, like
Just there forever.
I think it does shrivel up and fall
it's
off.
yeah.
It dries out because it's no longer like passing things through it.
But when you're
what if
there,
somebody-
they ask you if you want to cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah, did they ask you that? Like, did you like? Because first off,
Do
like,
you want
I
to cut
don't. You did
I
it?
cut
Like,
it.
I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to do it.
Oh.
I was like, I don't want to like grab a pair of scissors and shakily like go to do this thing and do
No,
something wrong.
I mean,
Like,
you're
I
not
work
going to go
with- I
way
work
to the
with
left or way to the
scissors.
right.
I used to. I'm
I'm a
a
big
field.
scissor guy.
I'm a field service technician, so I work with scissors all the time. So I was just like, yeah, no problem. They were like, what?
You come in and do that on
Then I
Tuesday.
patched it into Cat 5.
What? Not like this?
Yeah, I saw this and Freddie got fingered. This isn't it.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm a technician.
I do this all the time with cables.
I saw this on Fear Factor.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Is it like hard to cut through, or do they give you like some super ass scissors?
It's a little hard to cut through. You have to do a heel cut. You have to. There's a thing you can do with scissors where you kind of get the outside of the scissors with the heel of your hand, so you can kind of get a little.
Oh yeah.
Get some
torque on
clamping
there, and
action.
you just,
Cool.
What if you
They were
stab
dull
the doctor
scissors.
and then he dropped the baby, and then there's I don't know.
They gave me some of those like non sharp scissors that they give to
left-handed babies.
Yeah.
It took about half an hour, but I got through that thing.
And on that note, it's been a fun podcast.
Yeah.
It has been quite a podcast, and I want to apologize publicly, and I'll edit out quite a few things.
There's only one sick pervert listening at this point, so no apologies necessary.
Shout out to one of our actual subscribed fans is Coulter.
Woo!
Wow.
Coulter Klein.
Thanks, Coulter Klein.
Podcast
Remember,
records.
if you subscribe, we'll call your name out publicly at the end of every episode.
like Romper Room, except we tell a dark secret about you.
Okay, well, good times. Good.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
All right. Well, that's our show today. We are the Podcast Wreckers. We came in unprepared, and this is what happened. So you're welcome, or we're sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that you can check us out on podcastrecords.com or your podcast platform of choice, or behind you.